on Monday, January 30th, and the Carroll City Council meeting will now commence. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please note all are in attendance, and we will continue with our current meeting for the budget work session. And I'll start with Region 12 taxi program. And Tom Feldman, please.
Thanks for having me up here. My name is Tom Feldman. I'm the Transit Director at Region 12 Council of Governments here in Carroll. I've been out there for 28 years, the last 5 as Director. I'm here to ask for support for our local cab system. But first of all, I'll give you a little background on our transit system in general. We are the designated public transit provider of the 6-county region here in west central Iowa. We have Sac County to the north, Crawford, Carroll, and Greene counties along Highway 30, and Audubon and Guthrie to the south. We operate a fleet of 59 vehicles right now and provide approximately 200,000 miles a year, or 200,000 rides per year. Our mission is to provide transit services primarily to the transportation disadvantaged, senior citizen, people with disabilities, but over the years we've evolved in so much more. We have contracts with virtually every senior center, care center, type facilities in the region. We contract with a number of schools to help them with their transportation for their special needs children. We have contracts with Head Start, Job Corps, virtually anything you could think of in our region. But more specifically tonight, I'm here to ask for support for the local cab system. We have 3 cabs in town here. We're very lucky to have that. And we have a rather unique situation with the cabs on how we operate. I'll take just a few minutes and explain to you how it works, and then I'll be glad to take questions when I'm finished here. Region 12 pays for ticket printing and the delivery of tickets to the Carroll City Hall. The Carroll City staff is good enough to provide in-kind support by selling the tickets and keeping an accounting of those ticket sales. Only senior citizens and people with disabilities are eligible to purchase the tickets at City Hall. The tickets are sold in books of 10 at the discounted rate of $3 per ticket or $30 for the book of 10. Face value of the tickets are $5 or for a book of tickets $50. The fares generated by the sale of the tickets are sent to Region 12 via check at the end of each month. Passengers present the signed tickets that they purchase to the cab driver at the time they ride. The cab drivers submit the tickets to our office monthly. We tabulate the tickets and then reimburse the cab company at the full $5 face value of the tickets. And then Region 12, we invoice the city annually for their support. So in closing, the cab companies contribute greatly to our overall transit program as they provide a quick and efficient option for ambulatory transit services needed by senior citizens and people with disabilities that Region 12 may not be able to provide as efficiently, especially after hours and on weekends. A couple of our cab companies run 24/7, so that's a very good benefit for the citizens of Carroll. In FY16, the last full year that we have statistics available for, the cab companies in Carroll provided 15,601 rides to seniors and people with disabilities. The total cost of providing that service was $106,087, or about $680 a ride. This includes the $5 cost of tickets, printing of the tickets, and administrative expenses related to the service. Region 12 has been contracting with cabs that have operated in Carroll for 37 years. The City of Carroll has partnered with us every one of those years by providing financial support to the program, as well as the in-kind support of selling the tickets at City Hall. Region 12 would once again like to request a total of $18,525 to assist with the expense of providing the discounted taxi tickets in Carroll for senior citizens and people with disabilities. $2,500 of that amount would help the city fund time spent by city employees in selling taxi tickets at the city desk. The total cash outlay by the city to Region 12 would be $16,025. This is the same amount that we've requested last year and quite a few years before. And once again, we'd like to thank you for your past support and hope we can continue in the future. And I'd be glad to take any questions. We get lots of comments from people calling, inquiring about public transit systems in our city, people that are thinking about relocating parents to our assisted living centers, that type of thing. So I think it is a very big benefit to our city to have such a well-rounded and efficient transit system 7 days a week. So, and the cab system really contributes to that.
The 3 cab companies here in town each charge the same.
Right.
And they each charge the same, happen to charge the same rate for a private
Now,
fare
these
as well.
cab companies are fully private businesses on their own. Our contract with them is exclusively for senior citizen and people with disabilities type transportation for those tickets that they purchase at City Hall.
So you wouldn't really know what their regular rate is at all, whether they're the same or different?
I don't have anything to do with the rest of their
Correct.
business.
Okay.
That they can charge anything they want as far as, their general public services, but.
Right, okay, that's what I'm asking.
Mhm.
Do you have on file their liability policies?
Yes, we have, for any of you, I'd be glad to provide you the contract we have. There are very strict requirements as far as insurance in the state of Iowa, as far as operating a cab, and we have our own requirements too,
Okay,
so,
just peace of mind for me.
yes.
Any other questions for Tom? Thank you very much, Tom. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We will move on then to the Community of Concern Food Pantry. And Mary, please, come over.
Good evening. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Mary Baumhover, and I am the president of the board of directors of the Food Pantry, the Community of Concern, and have been for several years. I want to thank you for letting me come and tell our story. I like to talk about the Food Pantry. And I want to thank you for the increase in our request last year from 3,000 to 5,000. Made a big difference in our budget. We moved last February because our building was torn down. And we had to add about $7,500 to our budget. So we scrambled a bit, but you helped us, and we appreciate it very much. We are located, if any of you know where the old Brenny's building was, at 322 West 3rd, catty corner across from Denny's Restaurant. We've been there a year now. We are open from 8 to 11:30, 5 days a week. We have one hired person, one paid personnel, and that is part-time. And we have 10 wonderful volunteers that we could not do without. We each have our job, and we have to be there to do it. We have been in business for 35 years. The Department of Human Services asked us to start a food pantry because there wasn't one available. Before that, the police chief often had to help feed people, or the pastors of the parishes. And of course, our city has grown quite a bit since then, so they can't really do that anymore. We started with all of the pastors and board of directors or volunteers from each of the churches in the county. We serve the entire county. They were the backbone of our start, and they are still our best support. Every year we have a big food drive in October, and it is through the churches and the schools. And now we have a wonderful support system from the community, and we certainly appreciate that. We receive $3,000 from the county, $4,500 from the United Way, about $3,500 from a small state grant. We work very hard to go to grants. We applied for about 3 different grants this year and got them all. we did 2 good fundraisers. And so then we depend on about $20,000 to $25,000 a year in donations. And this year we got it, so we're going to be fine for next year. Our job is to serve, to feed the hungry. That's our main mission. And we never let anyone go hungry. Last year we served 2,395 persons in Carroll County. That seems like a lot to me, and I'm sure it seems like a lot to you. And it's amazing in such a progressive county that we have that many people in need, but we do. A lot of the people are mentally ill. You know, the state and the federal government have pushed them back to the county and to the towns where they have to be served. And these people are trying to make it on their own. They struggle, they really do, so we help them with food. Many a time I have taken somebody home who has come down pushing the baby stroller to put their food in it, or on a bike, and of course you don't get much food in either of those. One time I took a gentleman home who had mental issues, so did his wife. They hadn't happened to have an autistic child. I thought, dear God, you really are pushing it this time. But as it happened, I had to help take the food upstairs. It was a third-floor apartment. They had electricity in just one room, and I happened to peek in. They didn't really want me to come in and see how their house looked. They had a refrigerator in the living room. It was a tile floor, and that was the only piece of furniture in there. So we were glad to be able to supply them with milk and food and diapers and laundry soap, things of that sort. The 2,395 people we served represents 824 households. Some come back and have to be served again, but they make it as long as they can on their own. If they come too often, we try to sit down and budget with them. We make sure that they're taking advantage of all the other services in the community. We find that people who are making a choice between paying their rent or paying their utilities, if we can give them an amount of food, then they can pay those bills, and that of course saves the county money from county relief, because that's where they would go for their rent or their utilities. We serve a heaping grocery cart full of food. We value that at between $290 up to $325, which, if you add that up with how many people we served, that was about $268,000 worth of food last year. We are very fortunate that our food is almost all donated. We have a wonderful, I wish that you would come, and we're going to have a chamber coffee in April. Come and see our food pantry. You would be overwhelmed at the amount of food we do have. So food is not our problem. We receive not only people walk in, churches give it regularly, monthly. The Hy-Vee gives us their bakery goods every day. Walmart gives us their whatever they don't have, and a lot of it is meat. We're very fortunate. Every other week, 3 times a week, we pick up their food. We have 8 freezers and 3 refrigerators. All of those have either been a gift or we've gotten them with a grant. We we serve lots of people who are trying to find a job or have 2 or 3 jobs or work 30 hours at one job and don't have benefits. And so once they get behind with their rent, or if they have a medical problem or a car problem, then they're kind of stuck for a while. They don't like to come, but they do, and as I say, we never turn anyone away. We serve transients, homeless people coming through. We have a cold pack that we can give them. Sometimes we work with Family Resource, and they can give them some money. We had an interesting, really interesting, heartwarming occasion. We had a mother come in she had a baby in the carrier and one who was just walking. The police had called and said that this woman had come to them, Tony Conkler, and said that she was trying to get from here to Chicago, some family emergency or something, had no money, had evidently no partner to help her. So the Family Resource Center bought her a taxi ticket. The police took her to the taxi took her to Des Moines where she could get a bus. We gave her food and we were able to give her some diapers and things like that so she could get the bus and get to Chicago. And Tony said, "We've never done anything like that." Well, they did in the olden days, but working together, we could do a lot that way. So our request is for rent money, actually. We have to have a place to do what we do. We have to have a place. When people come in, we have them apply each time. We are an emergency agency. We do not furnish you groceries every week, and we do not help you if you won't help yourself. If people don't have a job, we refer them to job services or to New Hope or to a nursing home or any of those places, and then we check on them to make sure they went. And then we have that on our records so that we know. We also administer the Extra Effort Fund, and we spend from $5,000 to $10,000 in that. Recently, we bought a motorized wheelchair for a gentleman who, we didn't buy it for him, but we bought it so that we would have it available, and it is ours to use. We have put in things like a ramp for a house for people with disabilities. So, but we have to have a place to do all of that, and so that's what we're asking for. If you could give us $5,000 again this year, that would help us immensely. Do you have any questions?
You get fresh fruit, vegetables, that sort of
Yes,
thing?
we do. Walmart supplies us. Yes, very. We buy milk and margarine, but Tom Feldman has helped us with Step the Bus, and through Hy-Vee we get a credit, so usually we can take care of it that way. So the community is very good to us.
Mary, on the radio lately, there's an organization that's saying they're getting excess or surplus foods from places in the community. Is that tied in with you guys? I don't know the name of it. I just remember hearing it on the radio here last.
We have gotten food. We aren't at the moment that I know of, but we have in the past gotten food from state agencies, Feed the Hungry. We do go to the food bank where you can get your food for 17 cents a pound. But there again, we are blessed with the community, with the help that we get.
So that's
I'll
nothing
see
tied
if
in. That's nothing tied in with the organization.
I'll see if I can find who that is. It isn't.
Yeah, it's on the radio. I just don't remember
Okay.
who was doing that.
I'll check it out. Maybe it's something we could tap into.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mary? Thank you very much, Mary.
Thank you for your help. We
You bet.
appreciate it.
And we will move on to new opportunities, and Dina Tegas and Christy Antover, please.
Good evening, and thank you for having us here. I have a couple of handouts I'm going to pass around for you guys, a Faces flyer. The Faces flyer highlights services that are offered through new opportunities. And then the second handout is a brochure of the Carroll County Family Development Center, where Alpina works, and the services that are provided, kind of a highlight of those that you can take a look at. And if you have questions on any of those, please let us know. My name is Christy Antover, and I am the Development Director out at New Opportunities. And this is Albina Tigas, who is the Family Development Center Coordinator, who works with the clients on a day-to-day basis that are in need.
Thank you. So again, thanks for having us here. We really appreciate your support. So I'm, again, Albina Tigas with New Opportunities, and I'm the Carroll County Family Development Center Coordinator. So I am lucky enough to work with the clients day in and day out that come through the Family Development Center, and I could honestly be here all day, but I'll do a quick run through of just some of the more major programs that we have. Starting with, we'll go back to last summer, I guess. We do backpacks, back to school supplies for the kiddos going back to school, for the low-income families that we serve. And then in the fall, we will go straight to Thanksgiving baskets for those families also. The nice thing is, once you sign up for one program at our development center, you are eligible for all these programs. So if you come in and you sign up for the backpack program, the back to school supplies program, and then you need Thanksgiving basket in the fall, you're already eligible. We have your information on file. So for everybody that comes through that would like a service, we do require some information and documentation so we can put all that through our system and make sure that you are a low-income family. So proof of address, proof of income, and social security cards for everybody in the household, because we do want to make sure that we're servicing families within our county. So we, again, going back to the back-to-school supplies, Thanksgiving baskets, and then in the winter we do the Giving Tree program, most commonly known as the Toys for Tots. We just can't call it that, but it is the same thing. So the Giving Tree program, where I feel like we just finished up with that, but it is January. So this year, just to give you kind of a general idea, we gave toys to over 300 kids this winter, this Christmas. So I feel like that's a pretty big accomplishment, and lots and lots of smiles on kids' faces this Christmas. So moving forward right now, we are very, very busy with our LIHEAP program, the low income home energy assistance program. So we are taking applications for that. We start October 1st and go through April 30th. And that is a program to help our low-income families pay their their heating bills. So we are, like I said, very, very busy with that. I'm taking appointments every half hour on the half hour, and I've been booked since October 1st, and I booked for the next 3 weeks. So it's been very busy, but it's nice to see all those families getting help with their utility bills. And then also we do have a very busy food pantry as well, that we are also in very great support of, and we're very, very lucky for the community of Carroll to be so supportive of us. We also get donations from Hy-Vee and Walmart on the off weeks that the other pantry we switch. So the weeks that they don't, we are going out to Walmart there 3 times a week, and we get bakery, meat, produce, and miscellaneous grocery items. And we also get bakery items from Hy-Vee as well. So very, very lucky and fortunate, and we'd welcome any of you to come visit at any time as well to the food pantry. Our families are able to use the food pantry once every 30 days. So if they would come today, the 30th, then they'd have to wait 30 days to be able to use the food pantry again. And that's kind of so we can help them be self-accountable and responsible. So, you know, we want them to use the resource, but also try to get by on their own and become budgeted, you know. So then also the amount of food that a family gets for a house depends on how many household members there are. It's 15 pounds for the first person and 5 pounds for every person after that. So if you're a family of 3, you get 25 pounds of food. And then also meat items, produce, and other bakery goods as well. I want to go over some statistics.
I wasn't sure if you guys looked the letters that we send in, if you have some of those statistics. So we did serve 1,094 individuals in the city of Carroll this year. So that is an unduplicated number of people that have been through the doors that work with Albina for any of the services. So when she talked about that they've been approved for a program, there were 1,094 people. Of those people, 334 of them were children that benefited from the programs, and then 85 of them were over 69. As far as funding goes, we do get funding from a variety of resources as well. The city, we appreciate your support. We get funding from the county. We also apply for state and federal funding for the programs that we offer, and that would be for on the FACES flyer there's for the prevention department, the substance abuse treatment department, Head Start department, as well as the health department. So a combination of funding. We also do apply for foundation grants when those come available. I'd like to thank you guys for support and open it up if you guys have any questions for us that we can answer.
Do you guys coordinate much with the other pantry?
They do referrals. So like
Okay.
Albina said, they do every 30 days out where we're at. And that is the nice thing. It is a resource that if we're not able to help them within that amount of time, that yes, we do refer out to the
Right.
many different services in Carroll
Okay.
County. Absolutely. And I guess the big thing too, in looking at the list of different services that are offered through our Family Development Center, our main goal really is to help the families become self-sufficient. So our goal is not to continuously keep helping them. So we do space out all of our programs to help them try to get back on their feet. So we don't want to enable them. Some people may think that sounds harsh, but we don't want to continuously give handouts. We do offer them the programs to help them get back on their feet. Once you're approved for a program, you are approved for any of the programs for 1 year. And so the idea is to wrap them in services to really help them get grounded and get on their feet. And then at that point, hopefully they're able to get a job or get on other long-term services that will help them out.
Do you ever get them into the community gardens?
Yes.
See if they can help themselves a little more too?
Yep, teaching them education between that and then the financial literacy counselor we have on hand, just helping them teach them budgeting and even sometimes the conversation of needs versus wants is a good one to have when they do eventually get a job or they get that tax return. In the community gardens, just educating them on how to garden and how to grow produce and what to do with it after you grow it. And some people are not even aware of what to do with the fresh produce once you get it. So some lifelong learning lessons definitely that we try to help
Get
them
a
out.
recipe book. Okay. Any other questions for Christy or Albina? Thank you very much for coming forward.
Thank you.
You bet. And Jacob, please come forward for the library, sir. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. You should have a copy of our public library budget request. Everything should be pretty close to last year. There's just a couple things that flipped around. There is an increase in personnel services this year, and the reason behind that is for the first time this year we decided to put all full-time employees with the city public union contract. So we had to make some adjustments there with salary, wages, and titles of employees. That kind of showed a price increase there. Other than that, I'm willing to yield your questions.
Jacob, how many full-time equivalent employees do you have? You mentioned you shifted them all to the union contract.
Yes, I do not have that number on me at the moment. I don't believe, did we add?
There is the full-time library director, and then they have 4 other full-time employees, and then some part-timers to cover some hours and some pages, like maybe 2 pages maybe?
Yes.
And I want to say maybe 2 other part-timers that maybe work 10 to 15 hours a week.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, could you email me that information?
You betcha.
Yeah, I'd like to know the total number of hours that all your paid employees to figure out the full-time equivalent.
You betcha, I'd be happy to.
Okay, thanks so much.
How's your search coming for another library director?
Going well. We just closed last week or week before, and we've set up an interview time. I just set it up with my subcommittee, and then tomorrow I will be calling the 2 candidates for interviews that we've chosen to interview.
Okay.
And we do have budgeted hours for a library director that we don't have right now. We did hire Brandy back in to serve as an interim library director to kind of fill the gap up until we get somebody and they're able to get moved and down here. So as it's looking, we should be under budget as far as that goes.
Pick back up next year when they
Yes.
come on finally, okay. Any other questions for Jacob? Thank you very much, Jacob.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time. All right. Anybody have any questions with regards to any of the budgeting? Anything else they'd like to add?
Are you meaning any adjustments for anything, or?
We haven't made any, but I
No.
mean, we can go there next if you want.
I don't know, I took the time to go through the Carroll Area Child Care Center information again, and looking at their financials, I don't know, Laura, are you still on the board? You're listed in there. They seem to be really struggling, and even though they have several sources that they depend on, I just see this, I think we've all probably had to use daycare throughout our lives, and it's not, and, it needs to be affordable, it needs to be accessible. And I know we're all worried, the big picture long-term about meeting employers' needs, and I don't know how we can meet employers' needs without having that accessible, affordable daycare, and I think that is a magnet for not only retaining, but also attracting employees that are really needed. I know I mentioned this to Clay, said, gee, Clay, I'd like to do a little bit more for them. We've been at the same amount for the last, I think, 3 or 4 budget cycles. I'd have to pull their information. I just thought I'd throw that out for maybe a discussion, that if anyone felt, and this does come from the general fund, correct, Laura? What I noticed is they've taken out 3 loans lately, and servicing those going into like 2036. I see them remaining viable, but also when, I can't remember her name, the director. Nikki Hooten, yeah. Mentioning the high turnover. That is not good for kids either. They need consistency, and I know when I was at DMAC, several of my students worked down there as they were working on their degrees. They were very, very good. I'm sure they were excellent employees, and I think a lot of them go there to get that experience and then they move on. But I guess for all the reasons everybody's been through their book, I guess I'd like to throw it out there that maybe if we could consider giving them a little bit more to help them, since they haven't asked us to up the amount in the last 3 budget cycles. I know it would be well spent, and I think anything we can do for the kids, and also what I mentioned about needing good daycare, childcare. They do more than daycare. They're teaching and doing early childhood development, et cetera. I'd like to see us at least chip in a couple thousand more, 2,000 or 3,000 more. But that's a suggestion. Again, it will be well spent. They need that consistency instead of that high turnover with their employees.
Do we stipulate by chance that they definitely use what we give them specifically for pay? Does anybody know? Because that
Laura
is,
asked
Laura-
the same thing.
because it's a huge issue.
Yeah.
That's the concern they came.
Right.
Yeah, the $8 an hour.
Yeah.
If we did it, I'd like to see
That's what I'm
that it
thinking,
went directly towards
that
pay.
consistency and so on, to help with.
What's the minimum wage right now? Do you-
8 something.
7:25, thanks.
It's not actually scheduled to go up at all, is that correct?
No.
At this time?
But
Most of their
they,
people are
There's no
getting paid.
schedule.
they're getting
Increase.
8, and if they have a college degree, they mention
Yeah.
a little bit more. I don't know, Laura, is there anything you could add about their financial viability, or how is it looking? I'm sure you understand their finances way better than I do.
I mean, they're making ends meet, there's no doubt about it, but you're right, the pay for the individuals that
Yeah.
work there definitely takes a special person to be able to.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, Work with children all day long for the pay that they
For
get.
their
Yeah.
safety, for
Yes.
their welfare.
Well, and to your point too, Carolyn,
I
this
don't-
is education as well as
They
just
do a
general
lot.
daycare. They do.
They really do.
They do a phenomenal job with what they have.
And I noticed the rent at the other building, that is really high, but I think, I think there isn't, you couldn't do anything for much less in Carroll.
I don't have it in front of me, but we asked how many years back. There was 2 organizations, Clay asked one, I asked one. The one I asked was 2007, but I don't remember on the one since we raised it, or on this one here.
Laura brings the big book for our
Yeah.
reference. She's
Yeah,
good.
I think it was,
it's the same.
Is that what you said?
2011 was, I think
that's
that
what
was,
she said.
yeah.
Yep, in 2011, it went from 12,000 to 14,000.
Okay.
So it was 5 years ago.
Even if-
Well, going on
Even if you
6.
factor in inflation, which is close to about 2%, I mean, they're kind of lagging behind.
The 3,000 was where my calculations came to,
Yeah,
is
that's from in
catching them up.
That's
Yeah.
what I got in
3.
my head here, too.
Okay.
That's about where I thought it would be, about 3.
Okay, well, I just thought I'd throw it out there.
And
And if we can do what Misty suggested, to dedicate it to salaries, it'd help a little bit, but they have
Can we do that?
40-some employees.
I think it's fair if we gave an increase to at least know where it went.
I would say that it's exceptionally difficult to ask them to be beholden to us exactly how they would use it. That said, I'd also like to see that it is used well to hopefully decrease their turnover. From that note, perhaps we could just invite them back in 6 months or this time next year again, and we keep in mind on where their turnover issue's at, and see if there's improvements with the extra dollars we kick in. I'd like them to be accountable, but I know if we state that we have to be accountable for that it'll put them under more duress also.
My only concern with earmarking specifically for salary, I think a standard full-time work year is what, 2,080 hours?
Yeah.
So if you went $3,800,
I know,
that's,
It's just
here's a
them.
2-cent raise, thanks a lot.
Right, it's not gonna boost that up.
Yeah, I think they've got to have
significant
the
amount.
discretion though to use it. Like you said, I think.
well,
they'll-
they have
would
many
use
good
it.
needs. Yeah.
But hopefully, if we send a signal we're helping out, maybe the other organizations that they're working with will do the same.
Well said.
True, but like I said, I'm just concerned by kind of saddling them if we said we want this bump to go specifically to that.
Yeah, I don't, you're not gonna get a significant amount of a raise to $9 or $10 unless you gave them 100,000.
If you look at the newspaper, all the ads for part-time jobs are $11 to $13.
Yeah.
Right,
That's why we're struggling with the rent.
right.
We start people now at 9, control desk, lifeguards, 4 at 9, and we're looking at going to 10. So,
Tell you what, you drop your kid off to these diligent individuals who are working hard to take care of kids all day long. You drop them off early in the morning. By the end of the day, those folks they're shot. They've worked hard. They do a good job with our kids in the community, and they work very, very hard to make this a positive. And to your point, Carolyn, that was where I was looking at last week, is if we hope to continue workforce development, that this is pivotal. 3,000 may not make a big drop in the bucket, but Laverne, like you said, if it coaxes some others to help out too, I think it's a key component for our workforce development in the community.
Laura, it's mentioned in their document that they earn, I think it was like 15, I didn't mark it, 15,000 for a fundraiser. What, do they do one, like, big fundraiser a year? They do, okay.
They solicit, I'm not exactly sure who they all solicit, probably some people, they've been there for years, some major businesses who have maybe employees who say
Sure,
they're there.
sure.
And then just anybody else, yeah.
Okay,
But that's
okay.
their major fundraiser. They apply for grants. And obviously with the grants,
Right.
they specifically go towards a specific
Well, I can see
project.
they're trying everything.
Just like all these agencies have been
Multifaceted, yes, yes. Okay, thank you, yeah.
Yeah, they've got about $3,000 worth of loan payments till 2036.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Basically.
You do not get anything from the county then? I just see City of Carroll, 14,000, United Way, 7.
Yes, the county does, I believe,
Yeah, there's-
11,000.
Oh,
it
do
shows
they,
local
is it
support,
in here?
county, city, and United Way is, their
Matched
annual
together,
budget is
yeah.
estimated at 25,000.
I thought they did, okay. Okay, that's all I have.
I think it's a great place for us to show some leadership and support, just from the help for developing workforce. That alone. Many other benefits too.
What would
I need a
three-
motion.
Well, I'll make that
A motion?
motion to up it by 3.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion to increase the contribution to the Carroll Area Daycare Center for additional 3,000.
For an additional 3,000, from 14,000 to 17.
See, we got our numbers in there, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Thanks to Laura.
Fleshner.
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Haley.
Yes.
Cots.
Yes.
Base.
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Any other questions for Randy, since we've got Greg back? Nothing scheduled. Check the pager at the door.
I was lucky when last week.
That's what I was reading the paper.
Yeah,
I
that was
looking.
good timing.
Did we need a formal motion too on the consideration of the extra $1,500 that the foster grandparent program is asking for?
Oh, was that not included?
No, that was,
That was in addition?
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Then we'll have to, we'll get a separate motion for that one.
Any discussion on it all?
No, that's
I'm-
good.
No, I was
That's
fine with
good.
that one,
No,
too.
that's good.
I would make the motion to increase the foster grandparent funding by an additional $1,500.
Oh, that's right.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Seaman.
Yes.
Haley.
Yes.
Cots.
Yes.
Fleshner.
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Base.
Yes.
And that's the one that was at 2007 before they had any changes.
Let me double check. That sounds right, but let me double check. Yes, that is correct. 2007 was the last time there was an increase.
So we got everything covered, we're good? We'll through everything.
Capital items, everyone's
Yep.
pleased with the layout.
Any other questions within the budget that anybody else have? So you'll need a motion to accept the budget as amended with the 17.
Do you have some additional questions?
Well, if you're okay, I guess I just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
the information that's presented, there's a proposed debt service issuance in here, and then an amount for a pre-levy resolution. If everybody's okay with that, we'll start that process. I mean, there's some other steps that need to be done prior to the actual adoption of the budget. But if that's the direction council.
But that's our
has.
vote to approve though, right?
What's that?
Wasn't that voter approved?
No, this one council can do without voter approval.
So there's a $400,000.
Oh, yeah, that one. right.
That one, yep, for trails, additional money for trails and
Right.
the
The
monument
signs.
signs, yes.
Yeah.
And if that's acceptable, we'll start that process in the next council meeting. Because we'll need to hold a public hearing and then, the next step will be to set a date for a public hearing and then actually hold the public hearing and then approve a resolution for what we call the pre-levy resolution. Basically, you're asking the taxpayers to allow us to tax them as part of this budget proposal for a debt issuance that's not been issued just yet. but we plan to issue it during the next fiscal year.
So will we have to have a public hearing on that specifically? Then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you need a motion in that?
No.
Or no, you just need direction? Do we have any consensus on that?
So that'd be about 80 cents per thousand. Right, you're showing $400,000 is what you're,
The par amount would be roughly $415,000 by the time we add in issuance costs. And we have it outlined in here under tab D, where the amount that would be asked for taxes in fiscal 18 will keep the debt service levy at roughly $1.28, the amount that it's been at the last few years. It's a 3-year issuance, proposed as a 3-year issuance, so there'll be 2 more years after that.
We can change that down the road
yes, yeah.
easily, yeah.
Will we need to do that emergency levy thing out this time or no?
You know, I think at this point, there's a lot of uncertainty on what the legislature is going to do. Certainly if between now and March 13th, there may need to be some changes if the legislature does something, but I think most likely it's going to be after that date before the legislature is going to fully commit in the next fiscal year if they're going to do anything with the commercial and industrial backfill. And I think at that point, if they would make a cut or eliminate that backfill, it's just something we're going to have to incorporate and live with within the budget. It'll be a next fiscal year that you would see any changes within the levy.
So what if they decide not to backfill that? How soon do we have to change what we've got going here?
Well, after March 15th, when we certify it, there's nothing you can do. It's just, it is what it is. So it'd be either a combination of spending cuts.
Right.
Or using reserve dollars to backfill that.
Okay.
And actually, we probably, at the point that we publish the notice for public hearing is when we set, this is our levy. This is what we're going to the
So it's
public.
really February.
So it's February something.
Yeah.
End of, middle of, we'll say middle of February. That's what we're setting it at. And in order to change it, take another council action or such to say this is what we want it to be, but we still have to have enough time for publication in there before a public hearing.
Thank you.
So can you go through briefly that if this affects anything, when they set property tax rollbacks, you're actually paying property taxes backwards, correct? You're paying for taxes over a year behind, correct?
Yes.
So when does that affect us? It would affect us immediately, even though we've already gotten that. I don't understand that part.
You're talking about the...
I'm talking about a rollback, and it's on current taxes, but we are actually using budgeted money from 18 months ago, correct? Property taxes are paid in arrears, correct?
When you're talking about how your home is assessed and when you're figuring it,
Right. We're paying taxes, when you pay your property tax bill, you're actually paying for taxes that were 18 months ago.
on a value of a home assessed 18 months ago, yes.
Yes.
And then the
Right.
taxes we receive during that fiscal year operates us during the fiscal year.
Right.
Okay?
Okay, so if they do a rollback, is that on the a rollback on, I guess it's rollback on taxes that are in arrears already, correct?
From the value of the, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Not what's collected, it's just off the value, right?
So it's the past value, but the money's used in the current year.
Correct.
Right.
How many dollars, I forget now, if this happens, the money goes away, how many dollars are we looking at, Laura?
Well, across all the funds, it's roughly $200,000, just a little over
I
$200,000.
had 3 in my head, so, okay.
The bulk of it would be in the general fund, over $150,000 in the general fund. And then a smaller portion in the employee benefit, and then, which in essence would go into the general fund, and then finally the debt service levy.
So what are our choices really today? Is it to decide if we're going to increase the emergency levy and tax the people more to be ready for the potential of the state funds dropping off, or is it, or what are our choices, I guess? I don't understand fully what my choices would be.
The way the budget is proposed right now is we're planning on receiving the money.
Right.
Yes, your options would be to leave it that way, or if we don't think we were going to get it, then adjust it now and then take a look at, as Mike had mentioned, do we look at a couple different options of finding other tax money, cutting spending somewhere else, or using reserves?
Where do the reserves come from? Is that our 25% that we
Yes.
talk about? Is
Yes.
that reserve?
Yes.
Where are we sitting at now as far as reserve? Are we
Just a hair
at
over 25?
We're right at
That's what
25.5, maybe just a little, 6, yeah, it's right there.
Okay.
Just spitballing an idea here, and I have all sorts of really bad ideas all the time. Is this something that if we got caught in a pinch where we could do an interdepartmental loan between one of the utility funds to get us through, or is that just robbing it and then we gotta pay it back the next year? I was just trying to think how we could, you shouldn't let me get creative.
I mean, I think one of the things too is where the budget we present, you know, it's our best guesstimate. There is always areas of, you know, we budget our revenues on the low side, and we do budget our expenses on the high side. And if you look back historically, we're usually 100, 200,000 to the good at the time you end the budget. And so there is a very good likelihood of, even if the state said we're not going to do the backfill, that there'll be sufficient reserves above the 25% that will cushion us and allow us to absorb that. I do think it sends a bad message to the state legislature to say, we're going to increase our levy now anticipating that you're going to make
That's what I was
cut.
thinking.
Right.
And so, you know, I would caution against that because, you know, the state, when they adopted this, they said, we are committing to make cities, counties, schools whole. I think we should hold their feet to the fire. I mean, that's what they've promised when they did this tax cut. You know, show us that you're going to be a good partner in this.
See, this helped me a bunch, this discussion. I guess I just feel we should hold the line and move forward then, and we can take care of ourselves if the state dries up. But doggone it, you better get together and do what you said, state.
And I think, you know, Saturday we had the local legislator forum. I was there and I told both of our local legislators this is important, we need it. And hopefully you guys are relaying that same message because it will have a big impact if it's lost.
Yeah.
If it's coming from what they were talking about Saturday, it's not going to come before we need to have it set.
Exactly.
They're going to be moving slow this year, is the way it sounds.
Hopefully then next year, if they tell us, hey, it's not coming, then we can budget for it, but, you know.
I've got an opportunity to interface with them again this Wednesday, and I'll be sure to bring it back around too.
Yep.
Give them as many doses as we can, right?
And I think the responsible thing is to hold the line. I mean,
Agreed.
our
Yeah,
constituents,
wait.
if they get nailed with the price, they've got to cut the budget.
Mhm.
You know, we're not a household, we're an entity, but we may have to tighten the bootstraps a little bit. But I think we've got enough reserves that we can absorb it if we need to.
We'll cut Jack back to getting mid-mount mowers instead of front-mount mowers. Just don't tell him, okay?
You're basically letting the legislatures off the hook if you backfill it yourself.
Right.
You don't want to set that
Exactly.
signal.
So
Or-
the responsible thing for us to do is to hold the line and move forward.
Hopefully next year it's taken care of. This year's taken care of.
We're due for the state equalization order too in 17. That will be happening every
Yes.
odd year.
I believe so.
So do they set that at the same time they do the rollback? And when do?
Yeah, it usually comes out
Isn't
sometime
it,
in
because
fall.
they usually have it on their website about
Yes.
the same, okay.
Yeah, we'll know
So in the
obviously by
fall.
the budget time
Okay,
and when we
good.
get the valuations, we'll know
Because
if
that
we've been
can,
impacted or
we
not.
need to know that too, so maybe just sitting still before we get that information, then we'll have a better look at the playing field.
as long as everybody's comfortable that if it doesn't show up, we may have to tap into the reserves.
We'll figure it out.
And that's fine, we can catch it up the next time around too, but,
Yeah.
you know, there's plenty there. So
Mike's right.
we don't
too.
want to drop down below 22%.
25 is our line that we have, isn't
I
it?
think we've gone
That's
down
what
as
we
low
always
as 22. Thought we did that a couple of years ago.
Boy, I don't remember for sure
I
if we
don't-
did or not. We try to, our unwritten
Right.
policy has been 25%.
Yep.
We've been up tapping 30 sometimes, I think.
Yeah, we're at 26, 27.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're kind of at a historic low.
When it comes to budget time, yeah, we try not to go under 25.
Right.
Maybe, I think there maybe was one time, if I can recall correctly, that was maybe upper 24.8 or 9. So I wouldn't say this is anything uncommon
No.
when it comes to budgeting.
Well, and the
No,
point
I-
of our conservative budget process is valid too.
And listening to Jeff Schott, I think we're kind of one unique position that we can do that. A lot of cities can't, so.
Nice to have a choice sometimes.
Okay.
Good discussion.
And I guess before you do, I just want to highlight two other things I think are just really important to staff to just reaffirm again. We do have funds in this budget for the library project. And the funds for this fiscal year is another $100,000 to continue design work. And then there's $50,000 for referendum. And, the thought is we do need to, there's going to be certainly a lot of discussion of what the project looks like and how do we bring costs down, but we'll get to a point that doing additional design work to get elevations so that we can go do a capital campaign and then do that vote will be important. So that'd be item one. If there's any thoughts.
How much did you say you had in there for?
150,000. So there's 100,000 for design and then 50,000 for or excuse me, 5,000.
5,000.
Very good.
What am I thinking?
I don't know.
We're having a really expensive referendum.
Oh, I thought he said
That's gonna be a statewide
5,000.
referendum.
I thought it was 50 a month.
Laura's keeping me
I was
honest.
thinking
Yeah,
five.
right,
so-
historically, we've run somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 for a referendum.
So it's 5,000.
We figured out you're human, you misspeak also.
Divide by 10, we'll be good.
So after the heart attack ended with Laura,
There's 45,000 towards 200, so.
We're already saving money.
the other thing is, this is related to the street maintenance facility. I mean, the budget as presented assumes that we are going to proceed with construction this next fiscal year. So we will begin construction by June of 2018. Now, obviously, we have to have a citizen referendum. But, that adopting this, obviously with that in there, tells staff that we need to start proceeding with that. And I guess from a staff perspective, is that the message you're sending to us?
You want to know if we're behind you on that,
Yes.
proceeding forward, and us adopting this budget and the CIP that we already have indicates such.
It's something that I think the community needs. I mean, for
Oh,
as
yeah.
Absolutely.
much as we put in for the purchasing of all that equipment and to keep it clean and maintenance and running at top notch, we've got to keep something, we got to give them something in order to provide the safety, security of all that equipment, so it's not out there rusting and degrading. We've got to have that. I mean, it's the taxpayers' money that we're spending for their service. We need to take care of it. I think that's a responsibility on our part.
I know the public supports the project, but Randy, how will we, we cannot advocate, legally for projects. So what do you intend to do to get the facts out there, like Eric was talking about, the equipment that's outside, the needs? People are very happy, especially after the snow with, the removal and everything. How do you foresee promoting this and all the positives for a yes vote? How is that going to play out?
Well,
I think that we're fairly limited as a city elected officials and
Right.
staff as far as what we, well, as far as certainly spending money on promoting. I don't, and that's something we'll have to check for sure, but I don't believe we can buy ads in the paper to
Yeah.
promote this thing. So, whatever other avenues we can use, in as far as articles or
Letter to the editor.
letters,
Okay.
Whatever it may be, those things fall within the law. We'll try to do any of those that we can.
Would you put together some information that would be useful that we could get to people among the public, talking points, et cetera? Because I know some
There's
people.
one right there.
I know.
How about, can you put any kind of figure on anything we would save from depreciation on equipment by having it indoors that's outdoors now? I know that's my concern. I know it's a fact that you're going to save the purchase of new equipment down the road. I know this. Obviously we will by protecting it. Is there a way to show how much that would be?
Okay.
It's going to be thousands.
Yeah. We'll look into it to see if we can determine.
If there was a way to say, this is money we're spending, here's some money we're saving that we're going to spend.
Someone's been down this path before us, maybe Friend City or we could go to some of the area associations and find out if anyone's had an actual study where they've moved X dollars of equipment inside and have seen this improvement. If you're looking for that type of a dollar, we might be able to benchmark it off from somebody else and bring it back to a percentage or something in that order, Andy?
Sure. We'll sure look in and ask and pursue it.
The other thing that I would say is that we as a council are here to lead, and if we're not on board with a capital project such as the street maintenance facility, I'd rather see us all vet it out ahead of time, now or even back to the CIP, rather than falling into rancor later on and squabbling over it. But I think our signals to the community that this is important, that we do have this equipment to maintain. Jerry, I'm pretty sure that snowplow is going to break down before they get to your street, and you're going to have a street full of snow. But they'll probably get mine. It's okay. There's something to be said for our leadership and for our solidarity. This council has no power as individuals. We have power to help lead our community as a unit, and I think this council's done that very well and is working well. You're pretty fresh at Laverne. I don't know if we can give you that props yet, but I think we'll be okay with him. I'd just like to see if we have issues with a project like this, that we bring it forward ahead of time, work it together, and make sure that we do help to explain to people that we're trying to improve their service, not just spend their tax dollars.
You have a time frame when this is coming forward?
Yeah.
Next fiscal year. I mean, obviously, we're going to be planning it out in our work sessions and whatnot, but I would anticipate.
No, I meant for vote.
We don't have any anticipated date. Obviously, we want to look at how does the library interface in this, and when we have the meeting with PFM in March.
February 27th.
Excuse me, February 27th. I think the council will have a pretty good idea on how we can fit these components in, and I think a lot of that meeting will really help us set a direction.
And that's where we talked at our previous budget session about having that order as to how do we keep the levy rate appropriate, hopefully not increase it, and get the projects accomplished in a responsible fashion. Right, Carroll?
Oh, yeah,
60% to pass.
we need to think strategic, and starting with this, I mean, there's the football votes coming up. That's critical. They've done a great job of, their committees run the ads, et cetera, but I think we do need to have Randy put together some information so that I don't know, we can talk to people who, I know a lot of people who support this project who I know would write letters, would possibly do some ads, and I think, but I need the the information, all the selling points that you feel would be good to promote it with the public.
It's very theoretical.
But it is popular, and it will work, but we need to, as you said, maybe work to get some people behind this. I mean, there is going to be no committee, correct? I mean, you know, we had the Aquatic Center Committee. I don't know, is there a maintenance building? People out there that, I know it would be.
I think for any of
It
our
would be
capital
great
projects, we should.
to have a committee who would
Can city employees
get the
advocate a vote yes?
synergy going.
You sure?
Yeah, I was just going to address that. Randy's correct as far as spending or using any city monies or assets to promote one way or the other on an election. But and I'm pretty certain of this, I don't think any of you lose your First Amendment rights for advocating for that vote.
See, that's just it, though. As I pointed out earlier, our strength is as a council, not as individuals. So we can still advocate as individuals.
Okay, you're sure we cannot advocate for or against?
You can.
We can.
We're advocating already by voting for it.
And
do not
employees
lose
of the
I
cities
thought
can
we-
advocate for a yes, too.
I guess I was wrong.
Sure.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, you do not lose your First Amendment rights.
I
on
thought
these
we
things, as long
could
as you're not
give
spending-
our opinion. This
Right.
is
You just
what
can't
I,
spend any money towards it.
Right.
But cities' employees, could they, how do I want to say that, develop another pool of money, and then that pool of money, well, that would be,
I think
anyway.
you'd wanna-
You're not spending any city money.
I don't think you'd want to have employees lead that
I think we want a
charge.
private group.
You'd
like
you'd
that.
want a
citizen group.
Yeah, you'd have to have a citizen group,
Okay.
yeah.
raise some money for
Well,
advertising.
kind of like the school board can't go out and advocate for the football
can't say
field.
vote yes.
But they can set up a committee to do that.
Right.
So you'd have to have like
Be
a
the same
city
scenario.
maintenance garage committee
Right.
type thing.
Well, and
Okay.
it sounds ridiculous to do that for city maintenance
Right.
garage, but at the same
Yeah.
time,
I
this
don't,
is-
I don't know. I think it would show, it would get momentum. I think it would.
I think it's key. These
I-
elections cost us money. They are not elections, these referendums cost us money. We spend taxpayers' money.
It is an
But,
election, yeah.
okay, David, I guess I'm wrong. I don't know. I read the ethics thing so long ago about these. I know we can spend our own money, but I thought we could like give our own opinion, but we couldn't say, hey, all of you get out there and vote yes, with our own money. I stand corrected.
Yeah,
I think you can.
I think you sure can.
We can?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, I go back to your
there's
First
also-
Amendment rights to,
What you do as an
Right.
individual can go out
Yeah.
and speak on
Well, I
the law.
know-
Yeah, correct.
right.
We
Well,
just
yeah.
can't set up, we can't budget $10,000 for
I've
advertising
Right.
Right.
from the
Right.
city perspective, right?
A good example on that is the sign on the fence on the football field that says just vote. Now, if it was not on the football field, they could say vote yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that nylon sign that's sitting on the fence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't say vote yes,
Oh,
it
yeah,
just
it
says
says go
vote.
vote.
But if it was somewhere else, not on school property, or like for us, not on city property, you could advocate vote yes.
I'll bring you down some
I
fence
think
posts
health
for you.
meters
No,
kind of a
I
thinly veiled
did a
vote, yes.
frequently asked questions ad a long time ago on an issue,
Yeah.
but I was told then
Post
I
a chamber
could
coffee
not
there, make sure all the equipment's indoors and make sure they're doing some maintenance work on an axle at the same time.
Yeah, that's an impactful thing to see, isn't it?
It would be.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
all right. Okay, so we will not go
I'll
to
get you some
prison.
information on
Okay.
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be great.
I'm really certain.
I
about
believe
that.
you. I stand corrected, okay?
So if we were to personally donate to a fund, that's not a problem.
No.
No. You just can't use like the city copier
Because
or
we
anything.
actually,
You can't use.
that's actually,
That's right.
You can't.
Well, and correct me,
Or a
David,
screen.
I don't know the ins and outs of this, but I think could the city not, even in our water bill, put a factual statement out about why the city's doing something. And say, this building
You
is.
can do that with the aquatic center, didn't you?
As-
That's
yeah,
a
as
great
lo-
idea.
As long as
That is
you're
great.
not advocating.
Yes.
Right.
And it
Just
goes
say-
back to the vote poster
Yeah.
on the school property.
If we give them facts.
And we've done that before. I don't remember,
Probably with the aquatic center. would be-
was it Aquatic Center?
I thought the aquatic
Okay.
center, we did one.
It was a factual sheet,
Mhm.
yeah.
You can tell them go vote, you just can't say go vote yes or go vote no.
Correct.
Yeah, just providing that information.
We can talk about what the tax impact is. We can
Correct.
talk about
Yeah, yeah.
the reasons
The
why you're
needs.
doing it, the needs.
Needs, what they're getting for their money. They want
Right.
bang for the buck.
Buck.
Yeah.
How it helps to save them the equipment.
And-
You
and
got
it-
all that stuff still sitting outside.
You never quantify downtime.
Well-
Downtime's a huge cost when you talk about this stuff. If we're spending time fixing a plow when we could be moving the snow, or we're allocating resources for that downtime of that equipment, it's a big impact.
And I think you need to personalize it too. It can't just be data and numbers that are so impersonal. You need, like, Randy's, the guys' pictures or with their equipment and showing how cramped it is, or, whatever. I don't
We're gonna send Mike down with a video camera next time we take an axle off from a truck. You haven't seen that yet, you need to check that out.
Sounds like a great YouTube.
I think it could be, yeah.
There you go. Okay. Well, thank you, David.
We're learning all sorts of new stuff tonight.
Yeah, I did. I was wrong.
Laura?
Just unless there's any other questions, changes, comments about the budget proposal, now's your time to make some comments. Otherwise, we'll proceed forward. We had a couple motions for additions, and we'll get those incorporated in.
So you'll bring this back to the next meeting in February, first meeting in February?
The first meeting in February would be, the state forms will be prepared, and basically that's your chance to say, this is what we plan, this is our budget, this is what we want to set the levy at, this is our expenditures and our revenues. That would be your final say.
Still have a chance to talk about more stuff, if you need to.
But if there's not going to be, I'd say if there's anything you want to make changes, I would
Changes
say
on
now
is the time.
is the time.
Well, looking at capital projects and budgeting and planning, I like what we have laid out here very well. Just would ask that the people keep aware to the fact that this is a budget, it's a plan. It can, will, and does change by its very nature. And we will be continuing through processes. For instance, we've talked about street maintenance facility tonight, so I'll go back to that. And we will be working through the process of doing our best job to make sure that we deliver the best value for the people at Carroll when it comes to capital projects, street maintenance, library, et cetera. It doesn't mean that we're etching in stone, this is what we're going to do. But it is our guide, and as Mike said, this is our direction to you, so we want to keep going this direction. There will be more process, more work done. You're gonna get your shed costs down yet, aren't you, Andy?
I don't know.
I'm optimistic, I hope so. But we will continue working through process, would be my point. And any engagement we have from the community to help us understand your wants, your needs for your budget would be valued by me, and I'm sure any of my cohorts here at the table. Right, Misty?
Bring the final papers at the next meeting then.
Yes,
And then
the state forms.
We'll vote on it then at the second meeting in February.
Then, we'll set the public hearing
Right.
for the first meeting in March.
Okay.
So that gives plenty of
Oh,
time
that's-
for.
Yeah, because we don't have to do till, right, or
Right, well, the next meeting, basically, that's kind of what you're setting. This is the levy that we're going to put out, and that gives the authority to publish the notice of the public hearing so that we can hold it the first meeting in March.
So we need a motion?
I have a quick question first.
Yes, go.
So there's a lot of information covered in the last meeting, and maybe I might be missing it, but I want to make sure that the rec center isn't falling off. Where does the rec center fall? Am I looking at CIP right, that we're not talking about any changes there till fiscal year 19 possibly? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah.
make sure I understand that, and that we don't just drop the conversations and the studies that were going on there, because I think the people are looking for updates there as well.
That was a lot of work that they put into that,
Yeah.
for that
And
pool, and
that's a lot.
it
It's a
needs
lot.
acknowledgement. That's, yeah.
That should be a
known-
part of the PFM discussion,
Yeah, right. I
just
have
like
no
they
intention
did
of dropping that
before
off,
with
yeah.
all our big capital projects.
Because
Yep.
she's coming
February 27th.
February
Yep.
27th.
Yep.
And so she'll be able to give us all the information on how those capital projects are going to affect us.
Right.
And how it would affect the levy and the length of time, and how much it's going to cost.
So we have nothing going on major at the rec center in the next year,
In fiscal 18,
right? Nothing.
that's correct.
I think we're going to have to knock off the votes one at a time. That's the only way we'll get 60%.
Misty, on that note though, is this something you think we should consider changing order on something to bring the rec center forward a year? Or you seem to have concern
No,
enough.
of course I do.
Yeah.
My family uses it a lot, and I see a lot of people that use it, I mean, all the time, and they're always asking, when are we gonna get some new locker rooms? You know, when are we gonna get some better swimming space? Lots. I mean, the city uses it for the Hoop It Up tournament. That place is packed all the time. I mean, you guys know, you're packed to the hill, so. Locker rooms are in dire need of.
Oh, I hear it
And,
constantly.
we were so close to it, but then it like got scratched because we were talking about the whole remodel and the whole upgrade, and then we didn't come back to it, and so it's just, I just want to make sure it doesn't get lost.
Are we losing it too much to get to 19, or do you think that's
Well, there
acceptable?
hasn't been anything done. That place hasn't really been touched for how many years? I mean, the locker
The weight
rooms.
room.
Right, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
that stuff is what it is.
Isn't the main the focus is the aquatic part of it, right?
It has been.
And that hasn't, like Misty, that hasn't been touched since it's been built.
Right.
Well,
I
none of
agree
it
with you.
has. None of
The
it
weight
has.
Well,
I
the
mean,
weight
the
room
locker
has.
rooms are as old as the building. They haven't done any. And it's true, we've got to take care of the buildings we have. And are there just, I don't want them to.
Everything's going to start to deteriorate.
Look at, yeah, the
You look at the
stadium's an
football fields,
example.
you look at the baseball
Right,
stadium.
right.
You look at the shelter houses, all that stuff, it all needs to, eventually we got to take care of. So, you know, you build a house, put a roof on it, you got windows. Roofs need to be replaced. You're going to end up with a leaky roof. The maintenance needs to be done on these things.
And we're seeing big
And
bills right now in
updates.
CIPs that are results of, not that we haven't cared for our stuff, we've cared for our stuff, but we haven't updated it across the years either.
Well, and we are losing people. I
Mhm.
know that from people talking to me.
I mean, I'll throw this out there too. This is a big step, just getting it here to 19.
Yes, yeah.
This is the first time it's ever appeared with the rec center, this massive of a project ever. So, I mean, as long, we got it in there. It's the, how is the public gonna, how can you make it palatable so that you're not doing all three in 1 year? That's a lot.
Well,
So we gotta be real careful as to how much we're throwing out at them.
Right, right. And I don't know, I just had kind of an informal discussion with Jack at our last meeting, and we were talking about the locker rooms, the need for another gym for people to walk. It's just packed with kids in the gym. But then the pool is the biggest segment of it. And I don't know, maybe we need to break down the rec center project and segment it out. Start with the locker rooms. And Jack had a good idea that maybe we need to not be as aggressive with ripping it all up, but being more, I don't want to speak for you, Jack, but, and I thought he had a good idea.
Flooring is definitely an issue in the locker rooms. We're constantly trying to clean them. I give kudos to Andy and the staff for all the different things they try to get the floor clean. But maybe you look at redoing the floors. All the lockers have been replaced. On the men's side, you look at the individual showers in there, like the women's side. I think if you take what the women's and the girls' side have, redo the floor, re-put toilets and all that, sinks. You probably, if you touch those, you probably need to touch the doors and make them more ADA compliant. But I think just the new flooring, new showers, I think go a long way between the two.
And I don't mind advocating to do that as long as, if we go through with the aquatic part, that we're not all of a sudden 2 years tearing up all this brand new floor we put in. So I think that was some concern that we
That was
brought up.
kind of
To meet
Right,
the.
put it back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if there's a way to develop that so that we can do that,
And if you want to follow what the plan was when we had FDH here on the locker rooms, I want to say it was around 700,000. It's something I can bring back to you, review maybe what FDH gave us, and then decide if that's, still acceptable and what you want to look at, and then take it from that point. If it's maybe too elaborate, let's cut back. What can we do? We can do the floors. We can create the separate locker showers for the men's area, and the women's get a new floor, new sinks, redo the shower. I mean, they all have individual showers, but maybe the walls need to be recoated or redone.
See, and that's back to the point of what about sizing it for the future of the facility?
I think we're okay.
Yeah.
I think we were
Dave
close.
Schwartz said
as
they
long
were
as, long
okay.
as we can incorporate that design into the next phase,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't
Yeah.
mind doing that, but if it's gotta we gotta rip all that out that we just put in 2 years before, it makes no
No.
fiscal sense.
Dave made it sound, Dave Schwartz, when he was talking about that last, made it sound as if we would be good
We'd
with
be
what we
okay.
have.
Okay.
But we can run it past him again, yeah, so
Yeah.
we don't make a mistake.
Jack, what about we considered going to 24-hour. Where are we at with that? Because that would be something, I mean, Misty's looking for things that it would improve, at least that's something that,
Right.
where are we at?
I've asked Andy and staff to get prices, and he has given me prices on cameras. And now we have the software going. We're pretty close. I mean, we're about 50% up with the software program. We get that running. We need to see how we can incorporate the new software into creating keys or some kind of system so you can get into the facility after hours. And with that, I think, we need maybe to be able to lock off the building. If this is going to open 24 hours, the only 2 rooms I would suggest allow outside of the fitness room would be the 2 family change rooms. If people need to use the restrooms, they use the family change rooms. They have showers in that. They're not going to get into the main lockers. They're not going to get into the gym. It's that and those 2 rooms.
Because we gotta keep them out of that pool.
Yeah.
At least going toward that shows that we have we're serious about improving
Cameras
the rec
was
center.
right around 18,000. We really don't have a feel on the key fobs or how we're going to assess that problem.
Okay.
We don't have an answer at this point. And it's just a matter of getting back into, finding some information.
Do we want to see a possibility of bringing the $700,000 for the locker room upgrades or some other proposal into 18? Trying to bring just that portion up? Misty, what do you think?
Well, I just think it's a building that's used by many, many, many people in town, and I think we need to start doing some stuff to it.
Would something, we've heard a proposal of 24-hour access or
Yeah.
perhaps bringing up the rest there, the locker rooms. What's your experience? You work with the rec a lot more than I do. What's your experience? What do you think would need to happen in 18 to show the progress?
I think the locker rooms it's something good to show the community. The weight room has been great. I don't use it so much, so I've heard a lot of people talking about the 24/7 thing, so I think it would also be a great sign. My concern comes from, we've met and we've met and we've met. It's this whole idea of meeting and meeting and meeting over this whole revision of the pool area, and then it just seems to drop. And so I want to keep it going. I don't necessarily mean the bathrooms have to be redone, because I want to make sure that the big plan is done and done right. I don't want to tear back into the bathrooms if we need to. Understanding that what we have, he says we can currently keep as far as number of toilets and showers and whatnot, but I want to see it keep moving. There's too many people that use it that I talk to all the time, that they want more amenities for families and kids there. So I'm really not 100% sure. I could say yes on the restrooms, but, for the locker rooms, but I also want the whole plan to just kind of keep moving instead of not talking about it for another 6 months because it's not coming into play till 19. That's
Thank
what I
you.
said.
Anybody else got any ideas on this?
I'm pretty well with Misty. I was on the Park and Rec Board when we talked about this, and we didn't, I was part of that design of that whole thing, and, some frustration, you spend all that time and it doesn't go anywhere.
Again, I'll just say, it is in there.
Right.
I mean, there is the plan. to
That's a
keep it
step
going.
right there.
That's the first time it's ever showed up, so, I mean, it's there, and that's only 2 years away. And that'll come faster than you think. So, by the time you get some of the other stuff incorporated.
Well, when we thought it was going to cost a little over 500,000, it was integrated into our debt and integrated in with 2 other projects. Then FEH came back and said, no, it's not going to be 500,000, it's going to be around 800,000, so we pulled it out, so we were ready to get going. I don't know, Jack, maybe visit with them about, we don't need a whole, structural, tear out everything and gut it and start over, but an update, and maybe run it by Dave Schwartz again, that if we eventually get to the point of having a vote on the pool, will this meet, I know we brought that up before, maybe, and visit to see if we could do something closer to that original number.
Okay.
600,000, something like that, then we could issue the debt, talk to PFM.
I'm sorry, I
Do we
couldn't,
try to put the 500 back in here somewhere? No?
for 18,
Well,
do you mean?
That's what I'm saying. Because we had it at one point and then we pulled it out.
It was
So where
like
did it go back
530,
to?
well, we can't get it done for that, correct, Jack?
Right.
But if we could get it around that 700,000 threshold less, we could talk to PFM about,
I don't know if we had 500,000 in the budget. We had money to do a study. I know that was in the budget, 35,000, I believe, to do a study. But Laura.
yeah, we had
never
it
allocated
integrated into bond.
500,000 towards any doing. I don't think so. But
We had money somewhere that we took out.
No, it was in with the cemetery building
And the city
and,
maintenance garage.
yeah.
we showed it, but
There-
it was probably unfunded.
No, it was in our, we pulled it from a bond issuance, Jack.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because we were gonna do the 500.
we were going to issue like 535.
And then when it came back in at 800, and then we got finished with the committee
It's in
with
our
the aquatic
previous
part,
budget book.
We're talking about
that's
the
when
number
the
and-
question came up, well, if we've got to redo, if we're, or the question came up with regards to tearing out the locker rooms, and now coming back and doing the aquatic part, are we gonna have to
I remember
do
that.
the locker rooms
Yeah.
again? Because we had to redesign or reconfigure that south side or the north side where the pool is, where the locker rooms currently are.
Right.
And it was like, so why spend 800,000 only 2 years later to come back and, or a year later, come back and tear that all out to put the aquatic part in?
Okay. I'll
That's
call
what-
it the H
that's what it
tomorrow,
was.
and I got some ideas.
Oh, good, thanks, thanks.
That's how this ended up transpiring, that locker rooms got kicked back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Misty, I think if you'll keep doing what you just did here tonight and keep us on track with it, that's probably as good a thing as we can have too.
Sure.
Thank you. What do you need, Laura?
Motion to adjourn?
That's what I was wondering.
Well, if there's no other discussion, no other changes to the proposed
Well-
budget.
Well, so we are clear on this, as far as the rec center, do we need to make an adjustment and bring 700,000 over into fiscal year 18 for the purposes of locker room? Or do we want to wait and see what Jeff comes up with?
Well, we don't have time for that.
I mean, I know,
Yeah,
18,
wait.
not 17.
yeah, it'd be for 18. We'd have to bring it back over in 18.
And one of the things I would suggest is probably one course could be simply saying we're going to do some design dollars into 2018. In part because if you're going to go out and say we're going to do a project, we're going to do a citizen referendum, you're going to need those design dollars. Now, just roughly, now this is everything, $9.3 million, 8% design fees, about a third of that you'd need to do for initial design before the referendum. You're probably about $250,000. Now, the suggestion would be like hotel, motel, local option sales tax, but that's cutting them pretty tight. And there's the dollars there, but it's cutting it pretty tight. But we're also going to have the discussion with PFM. I mean, my gut is you're going to want to stay at your current debt service levy. It's going to be hard to take on, well, it'd be impossible to take on all three of those projects without raising the debt level.
And that could impact people's psyche and how they vote on the earlier projects. So that, to me, seems like not a good game plan. So keeping it where it is, but getting going in the next budget cycle.
So in the next budget cycle, this conversation about putting 200,000 for the planning would need to be done.
No, we probably need that now, don't we?
Yeah, it'd be
A year from now.
Right. For fiscal year 19.
It would be then.
For our planning, or are we going to spend and do the project, start the project in 19, or take it to referendum?
19 is where the referendum is.
So don't we really need to be working in 18 for the planning, maybe as Mike
alluded to? 1 year from now.
Right.
Correct?
Well, that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
We don't need it now, but we want
Not
it.
in this budget.
Well, I mean, if you recall, when we presented the CIP, we presented an aggressive CIP document. I mean, to be honest, to do all these projects as listed, you're probably going to raise your debt service levy to 2 something, maybe a little. I mean, it's going to be $2. I mean, that's how we presented the CIP. It was going to be an aggressive. Now, it's possible. I mean, it's not, I think actually we're a little bit below the all-time high.
286, I think, was the highest.
What year is the debt dropping? I know we have some dropping off, and we talked about it last meeting.
Well, under tab D, page 28, will show you our debt payments for fiscal 18 on out with the one proposed for $415,000. So you can see about halfway down the page, debt service supported by annual levy. You can see roughly $650,000 would keep the levy at $1.28 with our current valuation. Assuming the valuation, total valuation for the city doesn't change a whole lot from year to year, then you can see where, in essence, you could say the gap would be from $659,000 from each of the next years of what we currently have outstanding. So fiscal 19 right now would be roughly, if no more debt was taken on and we just issued the one that's being proposed right now, you roughly have $264,800. Where if you keep the levy at $1.28, you want to look closer to $659,000.
Well, yeah, you really drop off after that in 2021.
But as we keep talking, there's 3 pretty big projects that we're discussing tonight.
That's where we need our PFM discussion.
Yeah, and I think what you're going to hear from them is you can do roughly that $6.5 million in the next fiscal year, and you can take on roughly that $6.5 million in the 2023-2024 fiscal year. So I mean, there is, and that would be able to keep your debt pretty flat. We've had PFM run some scenarios on that. Now, it's the timing issue. I know that there is a desire in the community that we want to be faster than that. The trade-off is the debt service levy and where that goes.
I'm moderately sure if we bring a big
Well-
debt service levy increase forward, we'll kill everything.
You said it would or wouldn't?
Would.
Would. Yeah, we've got to be, like I said, strategic and space them out. Yeah, yeah. We'll know more when they come, and these are all good questions, I think. Yeah. Jack, you can check your ideas?
Yep.
Then, okay, thank you for
I'll
doing
try to have
that.
it by next meeting.
Thank you so much.
Very well.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Not, I'll need a motion to adjourn.
I'm not going to second, so we got to stay here.
Second.
Scott?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Bird?
Yeah.
Haley?
Yes.
Bates? Yes. Fleischner?
Yes.
Mayor adjourned.